Hello, everyone. Welcome to, I won't say very special, I'll just say an episode of Uncanny Tracks. I'm Bob in Cascadia. That's Matt in the Southland. We are talking about an Avengers spinoff from the Hickman run. We are talking about Avengers World. It is co-written by John Hickman, but only for the first 5 issues, and for the first 14 issues, it's written by Nick Spencer. Matt, have you ever read anything by Nick Spencer before?
Nick Spencer, Bob, he did write Amazing Spider-Man, correct, back in 2018?
He did. I think that run was semi-controversial, but I don't remember why, and I never read it.
I just remember that the covers of the issues, I know it sounds weird, but they tried to make it look like the 90s aesthetic, that classic look of the characters, which maybe that was just the art choice. I would like to know the controversy behind it, honestly.
I think the real controversy with Spencer was his run on Captain America before his run on Amazing Spider-Man, which I also haven't read. The controversy about his Captain America run sounded dumb to me, but I haven't read the Cap issues, so I can't truly defend them.
He wrote The Superior Foes of Spider-Man.
It's a very well-regarded book. I certainly like it a lot. It's a short book, too. It's only 3 trades. I think it's why he got the job eventually writing Amazing Spider-Man, is he did such a good job on Superior Foes of Spider-Man.
I read the first trade, and it's a funny book. It's not meant to be serious at all.
It's both a heist book and a comedy book about B and C level Spider-Man antagonists who can never quite be the Sinister Six because they can never get 6 of them.
Nobody wants to join the C-list villains, Bob.
Nobody wants to, Matt. Nobody wants to. So, yeah, that's Spencer. He's the writer for our first 14 issues, along with Hickman for the first 5. And then Stefano Caselli, who we also saw along with Hickman and Spencer on the Prelude to Infinity issues over in the main run. He'll be around for a lot of these. He's on issues 1 through 5, 7 and 9. And then I mentioned back when we did the Prelude to Infinity episode that Stefano Caselli is probably most known for doing X-Men Red without Ewing, which is a pretty good book. And Matt, this is a weird run. The first 14 issues goes across 3 different trade paperbacks, and you could talk about the trades separately, but the summary you're going to read here in a minute basically also, it could talk about the first 5 issues, but it's also basically the first 14 issues. The story progresses, but in some ways it's just the same story for 14 issues, and it's just 4 different scenarios over 14 issues played out. And I was wondering what you thought of that as a structure. Did you find that satisfying? I've read this a couple times now, and I find it maybe, I would say mildly annoying as a structure. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it just doesn't give you a feeling of a lot of progress. That's the 14-issue storyline.
Initially, I was confused just because I thought we were running into something like we read with Hickman or something where you have to piece everything together, and I was not in the mood for that because this is a spinoff after all. They shouldn't be too complicated.
It's a good policy.
The simpler the spinoff, the better. But in this case, I like the way each issue, the way it's divided, you're really focusing on one setting or one area. Like you mentioned, there's 4 big events taking place, and you're focusing on that one event or area throughout that issue. Then that circles back around for the second part of it. It wasn't my favorite.
Well, shall we go ahead and have you read the summary that could be the summary of the first 5 issues or could be the summary of the first 14 issues of Avengers World?
Maria Hill sends Thor, Hyperion, and Captain Marvel to Canada to replace Omega Flight, who were destroyed earlier in the pre-Infinity issues. That's your first thing. You've got Falcon, Black Widow, Wolverine, and Shang-Chi go to Madripoor to deal with what turns out to be a dragon. The interesting thing about this one, Bob, you've got an island on top of a dragon, and they're fighting on the island. It's freaking awesome.
Or even the island is the dragon.
Yeah, you could put it that way, but I would like to think the island's on top of it, and we love talking about islands and monsters. So anyway, Then you've got Starbrand, Nightmask, Hawkeye, and Spider-Woman are in Italy investigating a mass vanishing. You have Smasher, Cannonball, and Sunspot going to AIM Island, and then you have Manifold, who must commune with Captain Universe to heal his shell shock after Infinity. So basically, Manifold's having issues here. He can't use his powers to transport people.
Eventually, when Manifold gets well, he's going to have to lead the Canadian Avengers, or the Avengers who are in Canada. None of them are Canadian.
Correct.
The Avengers who are into AIM Island for a rescue mission for Cannonball, Sunspot, and Smasher.
And you guys are, what's up with AIM Island? Why is AIM Island such a big deal? Well, AIM Island is going through this time thing where the future has been accelerated. It's becoming bigger and more expansive.
Longtime listeners of the podcast will vaguely remember some AIM Island stuff from both the end of Hickman's Fantastic Four run and also from the pre-Infinity parts of Hickman's Avengers run.
A lot of these characters were first introduced in Hickman's run, specifically Night Mask, Starbrand.
In some ways, we're developing some of the newer characters from the Hickman Avengers who don't get much spotlight because of the vicissitudes of plot in the main Avengers run that Hickman's doing. We're also spotlighting some of the more long-time characters, Falcon, Black Widow, Wolverine, who are around in the main run, but who are not doing all that much.
What I always found interesting, what I liked about this story too, and I feel like the story got better later on when we realized that you got Smasher, Cannonball, and Sunspot have all those X-Men connections. And we love some X-Men.
I didn't think about that, but yeah, Smasher basically has an X-Men connection too because she are Imperial Guard. That's interesting.
As we go through this, there's one issue that I'll highlight at one point where this is an X-Men issue.
That's funny.
Nothing really Avengers related here at all.
Well, listeners, we've basically given you the plot for the first 14 issues, and so I think we're just going to hit a few high spots, often just one high spot from each issue. So to start with number one, Matt, here we've got Cannonball and Sunspot love to make the pop culture references. They've loved to do it since the 80s when they were in New Mutants. But did you understand in issue number 1, page 15, Cannonball is saying that he's Jim Kirk, and he's saying that Sunspot is Spock, right? That's what's going on there?
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on.
Okay, it was just framed in such a way that I was a little unsure. I wanted to run it by you. In issue number 2, around about page 21, we get introduced to a guy named Jude the Entropic Man. Had you ever heard of this guy?
Strangely, I had. I don't know where, though. That's the weird part, because the name is so stupid that I remembered it.
I think that's a cool name myself. Entropic is a cool adjective. I like it. But he's only been in a handful of comics. He started out as a Man-Thing villain in the 70s. Then at some point, he was a Captain America villain. This comic, in some ways, is a sequel to Nick Spencer's earlier Avengers spinoff, Secret Avengers, which, listeners, I don't hold this opinion deeply because I read it 10, 15 years ago and I don't remember it that well. But I remember Nick Spencer's Secret Avengers as being not great. And in some sense, this is a follow-up to that comic. And when you see Maria Hill in this comic, she's doing a lot of machinations that I think is continued from Nick Spencer's Secret Avengers run. Apparently, Jude the Entropic Man was in Nick Spencer's Secret Avengers run. I don't remember what he was doing, but he was apparently there. Now he's in the cabinet of AIM Island. He's in the government. He's the Minister of Health, which is pretty funny. That makes me laugh. Sadly for Matt, I don't think he's ever going to see Jude the Entropic Man again. I don't think he appears in anything after these few Avengers Worlds issues.
The only reason I know anything about him is because at one time I went on a big research kick on Captain America because I didn't understand the character that well, and I wanted to know some history, and he came up in that.
Matt was trying to understand the Captain America Rogues Gallery.
I need to know his actual rogues.
Speaking of being confused, Matt, in this issue towards the end, we see Smasher get turned by AIM. She turns into Gold Smasher. I was never very sure about why Smasher went evil. It seemed AIM had brainwashed her, but maybe I was reading too fast. It was never clear to me how AIM had made her go evil. And at first, when she turned gold, I was unsure, is that Smasher in a gold costume? Or has she just become Yellow Jacket? Which is ironically important because Yellow Jacket will factor into Avengers Time Runs Out that we talk about next week.
It's almost like symbiote.
A gold symbiote that's making her serve AIM. Interesting.
Oh, it comes from the little butterfly thing. The little butterfly thing. I forgot about that.
Is that related to the stuff that Ex Nihilo sent to Earth?
Yeah.
It's our arc of Hickman's.
It's on that island, yes.
To keep going, Matt, in issue number 3, one moment I did want to highlight and praise, which was cool, was you've got a scene where Shang-Chi temporarily blinds Gorgon with fire. That was a pretty metal moment. I love that.
It was awesome. I've never really read any Shang-Chi, but seeing him call on his ancestors and stuff to determine what he needs to do next, that's neat. I like that.
Shang-Chi is cool. I haven't read enough Shang-Chi. I want to read a lot more. I have a sense that in this and in the Hickman run, although we don't see him that much in the main Hickman run, but in this and in the Hickman run, he's done in a much more superheroic way than he usually is, if that makes sense.
For sure. One of my favorite images in this particular issue is right at the beginning when you see the dragon and where Madripoor has been ripped up and put on the dragon's head.
It wasn't put on the dragon's head.
The dragon was underneath and lifted itself. I get it, but the way it looks, Bob, it looks like the dragon's wearing a Madripoor hat.
Did you know who Gorgon, the antagonist in this Madripoor arc, was? He's a Wolverine villain that Hickman really likes. He used Gorgon in Secret Warriors, his book before Fantastic Four at Marvel. And then he also uses Gorgon a fair amount in his X-Men run after this, too, because Gorgon is a mutant. But it was nice to see Gorgon here. Speaking of new characters, if we go ahead to issue number 4, this puts us in the Europe and the Italy plot. And Matt, we meet Dr. Druid, or I think it's actually Dr. Druid's son, who is also Dr. Druid, but I'm just going to say it's Dr. Druid. Have you ever read a comic with Dr. Druid in it before? I'm not actually sure if I have.
I didn't know Dr. Druid was a thing, Bob.
Dr. Druid is the thing. When the Avengers can't get a hold of Doctor Strange, Matt, they call Dr. Druid. They call Brother Voodoo, because Brother Voodoo is much cooler than Dr. Druid. But more often than not, they don't call Brother Voodoo. They call Dr. Druid.
Thoughts on Morgan Le Fay?
She's a pretty common Avengers villain, I think. And she also has a version that shows up in DC. To close out the first arc of Avengers Empire, the first 5 issues of this first 14-issue arc, in number 5, I was really confused by a scene on page 7. I wanted your take on it. So, look, granted, millennials are awful, Matt.
Yeah.
You know this, I know this. We're millennials. We hate millennials. Millennials are the worst. But on page 7 in issue number 5, Banner nearly hulks out on a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. And like I said, granted that she's a millennial, but I couldn't figure out what she was doing that Banner was annoyed at.
I don't know, Bob. That is one scene that stuck out to me. Is something wrong with Bruce Banner?
Nick Spencer likes to write a lot of humor, and in some comics he does, it actually lands, right? Superior Foes of Spider-Man is very funny. His Ant-Man run is pretty funny, but it can't always land, especially when you have a packed book like this with such a huge cast and you're bouncing around 4 different locations or more, right? Maybe he was just trying to shorthand some humor and it didn't come off. To keep moving, Matt, to Volume 2, Ascension. This is issues 6 through 9 of Avengers World. And we'll have Marco Cicchetto come on in issue 6. He's probably most famous for working with Hickman on Ultimate Spider-Man. But we're going to see Cicchetto's art on issues 6, 8, 10, 12, and then 14 through 21. So, helpfully only on the even issues for a nice little run there, but 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14 through 21. So other than Caselli, Cicchetto will be the main artist for this series. And then, Matt, what goes down in issue number 6 of Avengers World?
Well, Bob, Aim Smasher single-handedly takes out 3 Avenger heavy hitters, Hyperion, Thor, and Captain Marvel.
Ups Gold Smasher, ups Aim Smasher. Makes her a lot bigger deal that she takes out these 3.
Bob, why are we using Aim Smasher instead of calling her by her actual name, Messenger?
Because that's a dumb name.
Messenger didn't catch on with you?
Also, Matt, I would point out that Messenger is such a generic name that when I was reading the comic, I assumed the references to Messenger were just a common noun. I didn't realize it was her Dark Phoenix name, as it were.
It's her Dark Phoenix name that lasts 1 issue and is never referenced again.
What goes down in issue number 7, then, Matt?
Falcon meets Spear, Bob, China's answer to S.H.I.E.L.D., and the Ascendants, which are China's answer to the Avengers, and they're led by Monkey King, a famous Chinese novel character with both DC and Marvel versions.
Who is your favorite character in the Ascendants, Matt?
My favorite is definitely Weather Witch, because she's got a pretty cool backstory. And she's just basically Storm, but with technology.
The Monkey King's fun. You should read, they just put out an abridgment of Journey to the West, is the famous Chinese novel the Monkey King's in. It's a cool book. You should read the abridgment. I think you'd enjoy it. It is, in a weird way, a Chinese superhero story from the 1500s.
The other characters here, Bob, Saber, he's a green dude with a sword. There's nothing interesting about him. Yeah. Vector is literally the Black Widow from Earth 50,000 years in the future or some crap, the AI version.
Not feeling it. No.
Design is the exact same.
I'm going to draw our attention to a weird thing in issue number 8, but before I do, what goes down in issue number 8?
Well, Bob, in issue number 8, Spider-Woman and Hawkeye meet Euroforce, Europe's answer to Avengers led by Yankee, Black Knight.
My question relevant to that, Matt, is On page number 9, we first see Swordswoman, one of the members of Euroforce, as you dub them, the Eurotrash Avengers. And doesn't Swordswoman's design look pretty similar to the Batman Who Laughs to you?
She looks a lot like Orpheus.
Oh, the Batman supporting character, Orpheus.
The Batman supporting character Orpheus that no one remembers.
And looking at the splash page of her doing a split above Spider-Man's butt, which is the top panel on page 9, there's the long hair, there's the skinny design, there's the pale skin, there's the very red lip.
Okay, Bob. Like when you describe it that way, when you describe it to the AI chatbot, yes, it does sound that way.
Is that what you are, Matt?
She's got Prometheus' helmet on.
It's a little bit Prometheus' helmet.
There.
Yeah. With Prometheus and the Batman Who Laughs and with Swordswoman, it's all basically the medieval knight, at least the top part of it.
It's shaped to look like one. Yeah. Looking at the characters in Eurotrash Force here, we've got Tumult, Black Knight, Sliver, Tiger, and my favorite, Mikhail Zamoska, the baby killer.
He has, I would say, the most generic design, but the best name.
They give you his origin. He's some clone that was shaped into a kid who's a killer.
I see where Matt's coming with Mikhail Zamoska, the baby killer. I'm going to go with Black Knight just because I actually have read a good Black Knight comic before. Cy Spurrier wrote a good Black Knight comic. That was just a miniseries a couple of years ago.
The whole gist here with the Black Knight is that he's not European or something, so that's the funny part. Yeah. It didn't land at all.
Oh, I thought it landed.
Bob thought it landed.
What goes down in issue number 9?
Well, Bob, in issue number 9, in Operation Barfight, Maria Hill sends Cannonball and Sunspot to rescue Jocasta from Taskmaster. Then Jocasta introduces them to the Avengers kids, the next Avengers. Oh, shoot, Bob, we forgot to mention those in the summary.
I'm not going to tell you a favorite member of the Next Avengers because I hate the Next Avengers. The Next Avengers are really terrible. I got nothing for them.
Okay, for the listeners to read the descriptions of each. You've got James Rogers. He's the son of Black Widow and Captain America. He's got all leather and his shield lights up with neon. You've got Torun, daughter of Thor and Sif. She's got a sword and armor. Nothing crazy there. You've got Francis Barton, son of Mockingbird and Hawkeye. He looks like Hawkeye. You've got Henry Pym Jr., the son of the Giant Man and Wasp. And you've got Azai T'Challa, the son of Storm and Black Panther.
I'm not totally sure, Matt, but do you remember the character Spider-Girl from the 90s and the aughts?
Yeah.
I believe these characters are from the same timeline as Maypart. I think they had the miniseries or two back in the late 90s or the early aughts. But yeah, I've never really read Spider-Girl, although some people say it's a good series, but I've never read it and don't know anything about the Avengers Next or the Next Avengers or whatever they are. I wonder if them coming into the present, which, spoilers, that's what's accomplished over these issues, I wonder if that ever pays off, because I don't remember ever seeing, I haven't read every Marvel comic in the 2010s for sure, but there's a lot I have read, and I don't remember that ever coming up in any of the ones I read. A couple of quick questions about number 9. So when you see Jocasta after we went through Avengers AI, does that give you any nostalgic twinge at all? That's Jocasta the robot fighter.
Exactly. That's what happened. That's Jocasta. That's Ultron's wife. I feel smart.
All right, Matt, another way you can feel smart, you can reassure me. On page 7, when Sunspot says to Maria Hill, "It's your kids, Marty," that's a Back to the Future reference?
Yes, Bob.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
It's the last line of the first film.
Matt, I don't know that I've ever seen that movie in full.
I want everyone who's listening to remember Bob said that. So when you're listening to his opinions on things, always keep that in tow.
It's evidence of the quality of my opinions.
Especially when he talks about time travel. And the man's never seen Back to the Future all the way through.
All right. I haven't seen a comedy that you have strong nostalgia from. Clearly, I could have no good opinion.
Oh, strong nostalgia. Only me and everyone our age has strong nostalgia for this. You're in the minority here, Bob.
I'm in the correct minority. I believe the phrase is the moral minority, Matt.
The moral minority.
Also, you're going to sit here and talk to me about how cool and great time travel is while you just had to read off the descriptions of the Next Avengers. How do you think we got the Next Avengers, Matt? We got it through time travel. It's horrible.
Sometimes it works, though.
One last question for you, Matt. So on page 13, is that Solomon Grundy tending bar for Cannonball and Sunspot?
I
Solomon
thought the
Grundy.
exact same thing, and I was crap. Is Solomon Grundy also in Marvel and DC? Was he in a Thorian Legend? Or
No, I believe Solomon Grundy is authentic DC Comics property. I do not believe, even though he is supposed to have a folklore feel to him, with the nursery rhymes and all that, I don't believe he's a pre-existing.
what?
We're going to keep moving to the third trade. That's Volume 3, Next World. That's issues 10 through 16. And so 10 through 14 will finish out our first arc here, and then 15 through 16 will be a second arc. So, Matt, what goes down in issue number 10?
Maria Hill hits Cannonball and Sunspot with her secret amnesiac word from Secret Avengers.
On art for issues number 11 and 13, kind of taking over for Stefano Caselli, we have Raphael Inico. And I just did want to point out that I do find it a little bit funny that all three of the artists on this book are Italian. Inico, Caselli, and Cicchetto, all Italian. Matt, have you ever heard of a miniseries called Batman Sins of the Father?
I felt like I have, because it's got a neat sounding name, and it's one of those things I would like see and want to download. What was it about?
I have no idea. I've never read it. I was looking for stuff that Raphael Inico had done that you might know, and Batman Sins of the Father seemed the most probable. He's got a fair amount of credits, but he doesn't have a long list of credits with Marvel and DC.
It was written by Christos Gage, and it bridges the first Telltale Batman game with the second one. So that's why you've never heard of it.
Okay. I was going to joke that it sounds like a tie-in to either the Arkham game or that other game that people like.
That's exactly what it was.
Interesting.
I knew it rang a bell. I just couldn't for the life of me think of where that fit.
Basically, issue 11 is basically Manifold leads the Avengers kids, the next Avengers, to AIM Island. And then we get to 12, Matt. What goes down in issue 12?
Well, in issue 12, Bob, Euroforce Origins. We learn all about the Euroforce. Everything you'd ever want to know about Euroforce.
Indeed, indeed. And Matt, I did want to ask, based on page number 5, is there anything sadder than being drunk, talking to a bartender about how your ex-girlfriend, who is an Eternal, doesn't understand you, and then knowing that eventually Kit Harington, Jon Snow himself, is going to play you in a movie? Because that's where Black Knight is in this, and it's pretty dang sad.
That's really sad, Bob. That's really sad.
Something else that came up from this Euroforce Origins issue is we get some good advice from Swordswoman's French mom, which is don't go to the circus drunk and never trust a man in purple, which would be Swordswoman's father, Swordsman.
At the end of issue 12, once again, we're graced with Morgan Le Fay. She never has the same outfit on.
That's being an evil queen witch. That's
what she does.
You got to change your wardrobe constantly, man. It's part of it. To keep going to issue number 13, Matt, what happens in issue number 13?
Here we get the origin of all the Ascendants. So we spend 2 issues just going over origins. It's neat because you learn about these cool characters. They're new, they're different. The idea was that maybe these would take off and be their own books, or they could
I think that
branch
was the
out.
hope. They're thinking about Marvel as a global brand, and they're, oh man, we need a Europe-specific property and a China-specific property. But that didn't happen, but that's what they're thinking.
Let me ask you this one, Bob. The Shield helicarrier is awesome. All right, it's really neat. Everybody likes it. But the Circle, the spear, did you find it cool?
I don't find the Shield helicarrier very cool to start with, and I would also say I did not find the knockoff Spear headquarters very cool.
Well, what's really weird is this issue starts with the Spear headquarters having taken a nosedive into the ocean.
As you got to the end of the issue, you get a double cliffhanger, right? On the one hand, you see that Shang-Chi gets into some Pym particles, so in the last issue, we're going to get giant Shang-Chi. But you also get the words, to be concluded. After 13 issues, Matt, how relieved were you to see the words, to be concluded?
I was relatively relieved, Bob, because it was a long, long story. But it's not a bad story. Because, I don't know if I made this clear, Bob, because I had to read Hush 2 this week.
And this is a lot better than Hush Tua. Well, Matt, what happens in issue number 14?
Things come to a head in the 4 different locales, Bob. So we're just we wrap it up right here. This is where we got Shang-Chi, giant man. You got giant Shang-Chi battling a dragon. The Dr. Druid dude, he sacrifices himself or pretends to die or something so he can beat the people in Italy. We got Hyperion doing all kinds of cool stuff. We got Smasher going back to being Smasher. after kissing
Yeah.
Cannonball.
We get a nice romantic moment between Smasher and Cannonball here. I think we did see them kiss in Infinity, but
We
it is,
did.
and we'll see this a little bit later in the series, but it's interesting how much the Smasher and the Cannonball romance isn't established in the main Avengers book, but it has to be handled in the spin-offs of Avengers World. It's funny. Matt, I do want to reassure you, I don't think they ever follow up on the next Avengers. I don't know of them being in anything after this. But even if they did a spinoff with Maria Hill and the next Avengers, the Avengers Kids, the Avengers Junior, I wouldn't make you read it.
On the very last page of this issue, you get a really nice splash of all the characters, like all three quote-unquote Avengers teams, which I thought was cool. That's a lot of people. It reminds me of Justice League Unlimited when you see them all come together.
And they're all standing in front of the White House that's burning.
Correct, yes. That makes it even more interesting. I want to point out, too, Wolverine's on this page, and it made me remember, I don't think Wolverine says a single word in this entire run.
Nope, he's just in Madripoor killing people while Madripoor is revealed to be on the head of a dragon.
I literally forgot he was in the book. There's no real interaction with him
I
and
believe
anybody.
he is prominently featured on at least 2 of the covers.
He's on the covers. I know he sells, but geez, man, they just really tacked him into Avengers. I always thought he had a big part in Avengers.
He does in the Bendis Avengers,
Yeah.
but not in the Hickman Avengers. Or at least I think he does. I haven't read that much of the Bendis Avengers, to be honest. Well, Matt, I did want to ask, is it a little weird that this spin-off book of Hickman's Avengers is basically 14 issues of the B team of Hickman's Avengers, split into 3 teams for single missions that they fail at, then they all need to be rescued by 3 other different teams?
You got to have that many heroes. They just want to introduce as many people as they could.
I love the concept of, okay, we've got a roster that's too big for our big 2 books.
Yeah.
We need a 3rd book for our 30-person roster. You know what we need to do in our 3rd book for our 30-person roster? We need to introduce 3 more teams.
You see the exact same thing done with X-Men, though, Bob, when we hit the Krakoa. You see them splitting. And think about how many different teams and things
I
split
don't
up in
think it's
Krakoa.
this bad, though.
It's pretty bad. For your
Like,
average
there's not-
reader,
They're not bringing in 3 new teams. There's a lot of X-Men characters already, and they are using existing X-Men characters,
Yeah.
but they're not introducing what are functionally 3 new teams, even though I know some of the characters, like Black Knight in the Avengers Next, are already established, but nonetheless.
I would still love to have been a fly on the writing room wall, though, when they were talking about these teams and what their expectation was, if they wanted to see if they would do anything or if they would stick.
This spin-off book really is a trial run for a bunch of spin-offs, and we will see that as we keep moving. The last 2 issues in the 3rd trade are issues 15 through 16, and they are Axis tie-ins. That's all capital letters, AXIS, and that's a crossover that spun out of Uncanny Avengers, which is Rick Remender's sequel to his Uncanny X-Force. And in that crossover, some villains and heroes have their heroic and villainous alignments magically reversed. Hobgoblin and Carnage become good guys, and Hulk becomes a bad guy.
At the beginning of issue 15, I'm reading through this, and I'm okay, all this is good. These stories all come full circle. Everything's good. No cliffhangers at the end of 14, right? That was the end of the story. So then I'm okay, we're just going to pick right back up in the next issue, or like the aftermath or something. Okay, this is what it says in the first part. Steve Rogers and Bruce Banner's alliance with Maria Hill has fallen apart. Rogers was drained of his super soldier serum and rapidly aged into an old man. Banner is lost, replaced with a Hulk personality that calls himself Doc Green. On top of that, a strange event occurred on the island of Genosha, causing heroes to become villainous and villains to become heroic. In the wake of this inversion, the few heroes who remained have gone missing. A new terrible day has dawned. Who will protect an Avengers world that is Avengersless? All that happened between these 2 issues.
To make it more confusing, I think Captain America getting drained of the super soldier serum doesn't take place in Axis. I think that takes place in Captain America's solo book that Rick Remender is also writing at this point. And
My God,
even
how am I supposed to keep up with all? How would anybody keep up with this?
I don't like Rick Remender's Uncanny Avengers. As I recall, his Captain America run was pretty good, as I recall.
I'm a Remender fan. I would totally read whatever he does. I loved X-Force.
I didn't always love Remender, but he's always interesting. You got to give him that. This is the era when Steve Rogers gets aged into old man. I think this is where Falcon first really takes up the shield. Remender was the first guy to really do that. But basically, this 2-issue thing becomes an excuse for Doom, who's now no longer evil, but he still has a supervillain style plan to trap evil Scarlet Witch. Then he's going to use her power to absolve. Initially, he thinks all of his evil, But it turns out he can only undo one evil thing that he did. And the best thing about this issue and the next issue is that we have Valeria along for the ride. And Valeria is skeptical of her uncle's supervillain plans, but she's trying to get together an Avenger squad to help him out.
Who we got on this Avenger squad? Introduced a whole other set of characters.
We've got Elsa Bloodstone,
who we know.
She started off as a Buffy ripoff, but then Warren Ellis's Next Wave series made her awesome. She's a monster hunter. We've got U.S. Agent. He's the Ronald Reagan Captain America. We both had his action figures when we were kids, but we didn't really know who he was. We just thought he was bootleg Captain America. We didn't realize he was conservative Ronald Reagan Captain America.
Yeah, we just thought he was the bad Captain America, like Professor Zoom for Flash.
Oh, I don't think I thought he was a villain. I just thought he was another Captain America. More the Venom to your Captain America anti-hero.
I've watched the MCU show. I know. You don't have to tell me. I trust our listeners have too. We all watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
That's not true. Bobby. Another member of Val's replacement Avengers to help out Doom is Valkyrie. She's a cool character. And then we have 3D Man. I have no idea what's going on with 3D
Bob,
Man. I couldn't even begin to explain.
Why don't y'all just say something about his power set? Say one thing. Does he move fast? Does he alter time?
You say he doesn't alter time, but do you really want them to explain it? I don't want them to explain it.
Just tell me what he does, at least something. Very rarely do I see a hero in a book. I have no clue what their power set is. This dude, he's 3D Man. He's in 3 dimensions. Everybody's in 3 dimensions, right? I'm 3D Man. We're 3D Man.
It's wild. And then the last piece of Valeria's Avengers is Stingray, or as I'm going to call him, Sea Cow.
He just does underwater stuff.
He's a Namor spinoff character. Also on these issues 15 and 16, it's Frank Barbieri is co-writing them with Nick Spencer. And Barbieri hasn't done much else for DC or Marvel, but have you ever heard of a weird Image series that he did about 10 years ago called Five Ghosts?
No, I haven't heard of that.
It was about a treasure hunter, basically Indiana Jones, but maybe a little more villainous, who was possessed by 5 different literary ghosts. So Merlin, Robin Hood, Sherlock Holmes, Dracula, and then the ghost of an actual real person, the samurai Miyamoto Mushai, all possessed this guy. And so he could alternate which ghost was possessing him and use their powers, was basically the pitch.
I like that. It's taking
Public domain,
playing with it. Respect for people that can take public domain and come up with something interesting.
Maybe I'll get you the 3 trades of 5 ghosts.
No, that's okay. That's okay, Bob.
That's what you're getting for Christmas.
And you're going to get U.S. Agent, whatever trade they have of that.
Does U.S. Agent even have a trade? I would be fascinated if he does. I read Five Ghosts. It was fine, but people were much more hyped on it back 10 years ago than I was. I think it also was one of those Image books that never finished. It made it 3 trades, but it didn't really end, which was a little disappointing. But a better series that Barbieri did that I think got less attention was he did a 2-trade series called Violent Love. That was lovers on the lam doing crime and heist. Victor Santos did the art on that. I really liked Violent Love back in the day. I would recommend Violent Love to you listeners over Five Ghosts. But yeah, Barbieri is our co-writer for 15 and 16. Matt, so what goes down in issue number 16?
Doom only gets enough energy from Scarlet Witch to erase one sin, but he chooses one of his worst, and that was killing Cassie Lang.
That's Scott Lang's daughter, Ant-Man's daughter, and I believe he kills her in a crossover that's a Young Avengers crossover, which is not the same thing as Next Avengers, people, but Young Avengers, the Children's Crusade. And I wish, Matt, that I'd had us go ahead and do the Matt Fraction Future Foundation run before this, because that run revolves around Cassie still being dead and Ant-Man wanting revenge on Doctor Doom.
To make things clear for people, though, in Avengers AI, that's
Hank Pym.
That's Hank Pym. Not Scott.
Is the first Ant-Man, but Scott Lang is the guy who's the thief who becomes Ant-Man, who is played by Paul Rudd in the movies, and is probably more identified with the Ant-Man identity at this point than Hank Pym.
So Scott Lang, Paul Rudd.
And Hank Pym, Michael Douglas.
There you go.
Hank Pym also has a daughter, but his daughter is the unbeatable Wasp, who had a solo series a few years ago that was pretty good.
What do you think about Valeria in a armor suit?
It's not my favorite, but what did you think about it?
I don't see Valeria being physically imposing. Seeing her in the armor was odd. I would prefer her to stick around and be a child with like some magical bubble around her where she can't get hurt.
That makes sense. I was going to ask about issue 16, Matt. Did you find Cassie's resurrection sweet even without all the backstory about Doom killing her?
It was sweet, especially when she does show up at his door. That was really sweet.
And that basically makes this arc a backdoor pilot for Nick Spencer's Ant-Man series, which I think launched right after this. And I have to say, I remember the Ant-Man series being pretty good. Obviously, it was put out to tie into the movie. That's the first 3 trades of Avengers World. Shall we really quickly run through the issues in the last trade, Volume 4, before time runs out, issues 17 through 21?
Sure, Bob. So in issue 17, Cannonball calls in a favor to get Corsair and young Cyclops to help him hijack a Shi'ar battlecruiser to reconnect with Smasher, only to find out that she's pregnant.
And Matt, were you surprised how quickly they advanced the Smasher Cannonball romance? They just started dating, and now she's already pregnant, and they're already getting married.
The baby's already been had by the end of the issue. It's crazy. I was all for it. This issue, number 17, was the one I was referring to. That's the X-Men issue.
Oh, duh. That makes sense. Totally an X-Men issue, or at least a Shi'ar issue.
This is the most X-Men issue of the Avengers you're ever going to read. All right.
Yeah.
In number 18, Namor and the more evil Illuminati destroy a world protected by a fantasy Fantastic Four, while Sunspot purchases AIM, but gets blown up by the Scientist Supreme.
What'd you think of this issue, man?
I did like this one, Bob. I liked that they gave the other world the option of pushing the trigger. And what that tells me is that Namor and his cabal have probably destroyed a lot of worlds at this point.
Namor is given the fantasy read the option is because Thanos and the Cabal are murdering everybody before they destroy the world. So Namor still wants to destroy the world, but he thinks it's more humane to just blow it up rather than to grisly murder everyone on the world, then blow it up.
Namor is not someone who's kill, rape, and pillage. He's just more, let's just blow the world up. Let's just put it into it.
Namor's only doing the mass murder that he has to. He's not out there doing mass murder for the sheer kick of it like Thanos and the rest of it.
He's not like Thanos and Terrax, man. He's just out there blowing up the world.
The Sunspot and AIM stuff becomes a major focus in these last couple of issues, and it's also a major focus in Avengers Time Runs Out. We didn't actually need to read Avengers World, but it will be useful setup for what we see in Avengers Time Runs Out.
Sunspot, he does buy AIM, and they've been building up where Sunspot and Cannonball are friendly with AIM scientists and the different people who work for AIM throughout the entire run, even in Hickman's issues. That's what helps him be able to take over because they respect Sunspot more than they do their leader.
It's more of a reoccurring gag in Time Runs Out, but maybe it's in these issues too, where Sunspot's really everybody who works for AIM is cool and nice. It's just they had bad management.
In issue number 19, Bob, Sunspot interrupts Hyperion during sex ed in the Savage Land for the Zebra Kids to get him to return to AIM Island with him, where Sunspot referenced the Warriors and KO's Scientist Supreme. So, Bob, is Zebra Kids a really nice thing to say?
That's what they call them.
I don't know if we can call these kids Zebra Kids.
What would you prefer me to call them, Matt?
No, that's what they call them in the book. I'm not trying to say you're the one doing it.
You're woke scolding the book. You're not woke
I'm woke scolding the creator of them, Bob. I'm woke scolding those poor Zebra Kids, man. They don't need to be called that. That's not nice. They're living organisms.
Matt, you can't see this, but I'm wearing a t-shirt with 3 black men and a Jewish man on it. I am inclusive, okay? I got my Hurt Syndicate t-shirt on. I'm not getting woke scolded by you.
Not today.
What goes down in issue 20, man?
Well, Bob, in issue 20, Namor backhands Black Swan and Shang-Chi battles himself. Out of all the issues you read, Bob, this issue was probably the biggest filler.
Oh, this was one of my favorites. I would say the Eurotrash Avengers and the Chinese Avengers origin issues were the biggest fillers. Also, any issue that featured the next Avengers, not a fan of the next Avengers, Matt. Not a fan.
Issue 21 is our last issue, and that is where Thanos kicks Namor out of the more evil Illuminati after Namor convinces former Reed Richards to blow up his former Earth before Thanos can slaughter everyone on it, while Sunspot uses AIM to develop the Savage Land and cheers up the now unworthy and majorless Thor.
This is, in addition to setting up Time Runs Out, it's setting up, there's going to be another new Avengers series after Hickman's New Avengers, and it's going to be called New Avengers AIM, and it's about Sunspot and some of the other heroes running AIM, and I would like us to read that, because it's by Al Ewing. Al Ewing's pretty good. It's fun. It's not amazing, but I want to see what you think about it. All this AIM stuff is not just leading to what we're going to see in Time Runs Out, but it's also leading to a different spinoff after that.
It just keeps on spinning off into all kind of crazy stuff.
Before we talk about rankings, Matt, any other final thoughts on Avengers World?
We never do get an Ascension book, right? Or like a Euro Force book?
Not to my knowledge. As far as I know, Eurotrash and the Chinese Avengers, I'm sure they've shown up here or there, but like Dr. Druid or the next Avengers, not a lot has come into my mind.
I'm going to have to research that, Bob.
Matt, I think the decisive question for ranking this is, do you prefer Avengers World or do you prefer Avengers AI?
Honestly, I think I prefer Avengers World more so, just because the number of characters I'm familiar with. I like the newer characters that were introduced. They were fun to learn about. Then the story is easy to follow once you figure out how it's structured. And I learned more about some of the characters that aren't being explored in Hickman's run. With AI, I remember being confused because it's a subject matter that's not necessarily easy to visualize in a comic without just doing a digital world. They just went with the Matrix things.
Initially, before I revisited this, I definitely would have said I preferred Avengers World to Avengers AI. As we were talking about it, I was getting a little more aggressive towards Avengers World. And you got me riled up about Avengers World. I was not having as good of a time, but I'll defer to your taste on this. And I do think you make a good point about this being in some ways a little more creative than Avengers AI, certainly painting with a bigger canvas at least.
Right.
I'll grant that. And I would say a hard line. I definitely think that Werewolf by Night comic that we read for Halloween 2023 that you don't remember and I hardly remember, I definitely think I remember it well enough to say that it was better than this.
Yeah, and Elsa Bloodstone was in it.
Oh yeah, she was. I forgot about that. That is a nice connection. So listeners, in case you're wondering, we now have a 24-item list. At number 19, we've got the Werewolf by Night Halloween 2023 single issue that we really liked back on Halloween 2023. At number 20, we now have the whole Avengers World Series. We're just going to put it all as one thing. And issue number 21, we have Avengers AI, or spot number 21, we have Avengers AI. And then, Matt, do you know what is holding down spots 22, 23, and 24?
It's got to be Gotham Knights, Bob.
Yep, still Gotham Knights, Matt. But don't worry, Matt. When we finish Hattush, when we finish Hush Tua, we know something else will go at the bottom.
Oh, well, trust me. That's not a spoiler. That's a guarantee.
Yeah, that's
it's awful. It's bad.
It's a promise. I'll be glad. I don't think A.J. Lieberman is a great comics writer, but I don't think he deserves to be at the bottom of our list. I think Jeff Loeb deserves that. Honestly, after this, Bob, we may need to consider re-ranking original Hush. Oh, thank you, Matt. Thank you.
That's bad.
Once the final part of Hush Tua, part 6 or part 5 or part 10, whatever it is, once the final part comes out, we'll do a short episode where we rank it at the bottom and we reconsider the ranking of Hush. Yeah. You've made my morning, Matt. I'm going to have a great rest of the day thanks to that news that we can reconsider ranking Hush after Hush 2 ends. When your sequel's so bad, it just ruins the original work. Oh, Matt, another possibility, we can think about this. We don't have to decide this just in this moment. But another possibility, what if we ranked Batman Hush and Batman Hush 2 together? That way they can be one thing. So that way there's at least a chance that it could be higher. A chance. Yeah, a chance. That'll be an interesting debate. Listeners, we'll have that debate when it's time, if it's ever time, because Hush 2 may never finish. We may be in a perpetually unfinished state with Hush 2. But until then, join us next week as we cover Avengers Time Runs Out, the whole thing. And until then, I am Bob in Cascadia. That is Matt in the Southland. We are Uncanny Treks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening, folks.